have had athletes that are allergic to the adhesiveness on tape, so we've had to use pre-wrap on it. So spray, heel lace pads. Anytime we are using pre-wrap, the tail is coming from underneath. So I'm a righty, so it comes from underneath here. If you're a lefty, it comes here. Because that way I can get it close to the body and I can lay it directly on. If it's flipped over, then I have to pull it out and then the roll just kind of gets in the way. If that kind of makes sense. Okay, so we are going to start where the calf tapers off. We can see that, feel where that Achilles comes up, turns into more of that gastrocnemius. So a nice even layer of pre-wrap. However you get there is up to you. I like to go to about midfoot, at least past where that base of the fifth is. But preference-wise, I like to finish on top. However you want to do it. I did a little heel lock with it. You just want to do circles, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay. We got 2 anchors at the top. I like to put just a little bit onto the skin, so that way it gets a little extra stiff. I do a slight angle that kind of mimics that curve of the gastroc. Because sometimes if you go straight around, you either get bunched up or it doesn't sit quite nice on the back. Okay, so we got 2 anchors at the top. We're going to put 1 anchor around the midfoot. What bony landmark do we have to watch out for?
The
Base of the fifth. Yep. So feeling along, so we got our 5th metatarsal. Feeling along, feel where that little step off is. Sorry, this is opposite. Oh, got one screen. Okay. Feel where that step off is. We want to stay proximal to it. If we get too far up into the midfoot or on that base of the fifth, it's going to be irritating. Same thing when we're talking about doing the full circles for the arch. It's going to be restrictive for them. Okay. So I like to just come up from underneath. And there's my arch or anchor at the bottom.
So you want it proximal to the.
Yep.
Okay.
So distal would be further away.
Yep.
So closer to toes. Proximal would be towards the heel. Okay. I'll tell you right now, I very rarely put a base anchor on it. I want you guys to learn and make sure you know how to avoid that, avoid the base of the fifth. I work primarily with women, so we tend to have smaller feet. Some of my basketball players that have a little bit longer feet. Otherwise, I have some short, stubby feet that trying to get that base anchor on there just is irritating, and I don't do it. Get to your football players, get to your long basketball players, those kind of things. You tend to have longer, skinnier type of feet, a little bit more easier to put that base anchor on there. Okay, now we go with our stirrups. What direction do we put our stirrups in? Primarily medial to lateral. Why? Because our most common ankle injuries are inversion ankle sprains. So we want to take that medial to lateral and pull it out. Very randomly have I had an eversion ankle sprain where I might have gone lateral to medial. That's only like not common at all. So the majority of your ankle tape, especially when for prevention, we're going medial to lateral. So we're going that ankle underneath the heel, pulling. So you should see an actual visible pulling them into eversion. Okay, make sure they go down. Then you get your C strips. And start at the base. So you can go anchor to anchor. And then make sure we have 3 stirrups. You can angle them a little bit differently. And then you're going to work your way up. Oops. Okay, this is why it's called a closed basket weave, because you're weaving your stirrups and your C-strips. And I like to just finish this at the top to make sure all those are closed. We don't really have any holes. Okay. Next, we're going to go into your figure 8s. And you got 2 figure 8s. I like to start lateral side, come across the top, or around the ankle, over the foot, Underneath, still making sure we're watching where that base of the fifth is, and come over to top. That's one. We got two of those. So when we think of figure eight, so obviously we got our eight. So we got a loop here, here's our X. Those are our figure eights. So we got two of those. Then we got two heel locks, okay? I like to start in the same spot, angle a little bit differently. So we come across the ankle, around the heel, arch, over. This tape is tight, sorry, this is gonna be a tight tape job. Okay, so that's half of one, and now we have to go to the other side. So ankle, Achilles, heel, over top. That's one. Okay, so hitting each side of the heel is half of an ankle lock. Okay, so we do two of those. Then when we're done, we come on up, get all these tails sticking here. We get to our clothing strips. Finish at the top. We have a nice, pretty, smooth ankle tape. Easy peasy, right? Okay. It's going to take practice. It's going to take practice doing right foot, left foot. Take practice doing on males, females, long, skinny, fat. It's going to take lots of repetition. The worst part is getting your angles for your figure eights and your heel locks. Okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and leave this on for now so I don't have to redo my base anchors. So the next one is a Spartan tape, right? Yep. Okay. So Spartan tape, you can also be called a dog bone. You can write that down so Gigi or someone else yells at you, say, hey, put a dog, do an ankle tape with a dog bone on it. You can either do it with regular tape. Toss me that can. You can also do it with elasticon, or some of you have like the 2-inch AC tape, either one of those, depending on how thick and tight that you want it or how durable that you want it. So I'll show you with this guy. It's got a little bit of stretch to it. So some modifications for an ankle tape, sometimes I'll use elasticon and perform my figure eights and heel locks with that. Sometimes I'll use my moleskin, so like the stuff we showed yesterday with the straps. Sometimes I'll use my stirrups with the moleskin, so they can be varied a lot with how you do your ankle tapes, okay? But Spartan tape, so I'm going to come under here, I'm going to kind of measure it. Okay, so we're going to create a dog bone. So I'm going to slice this end. I'm going to slice this end. So it looks like an X or a dog bone, like a dog bone would be split on the ends. I'm going to come up from the bottom, get a little stretch. I'm going to tear. So your book shows to split it all the way to the distal end of the malleolus. I want you guys to stay in the proximal end, okay, so we can encapsulate that whole joint capsule, okay? So find where that malleolus is, split to just proximal of it, and your strips are going to come and wrap around. Same thing on this side, find where that lateral malleolus is, tear right up to it, and then we'll wrap around. So I would typically do this underneath of my heel locks and figure eights. So I do my anchors, I'd probably do my stirrups, then I do the dog bone, and then figure eight heel lock. But that's all individualized and however particular you want to do with that. So you can do one or two, depending on the tape. And so you can use white tape for it. If I was going to use white tape, I would probably use 3 layers just because it's not quite as thick as the elasticon. The same thing. And split it and then wrap those around. That makes sense. Okay. Cool. I'm going to take just these off. Leave my base for Sub-Talar sling. Okay. Sub-Talar sling, we are going to want to have our anchors just like when we do our arch tapes. So I want to anchor here. Okay, and then depending on which way that you are wanting to prevent. If I am wanting, I'm gonna have you relax just a little bit. If I'm gonna want to prevent internal rotation or inversion, I am gonna do a Sub-Talar sling that's gonna pull it into eversion, okay? So just relax for me. So I wanna have them relax more on this one so I can actually kind of see some more of that pull. So you start on your metatarsals, wrap around the heel, and finish at the top, okay? I probably put a couple of them, especially if I'm using white tape. If I'm trying to prevent eversion rotation, then I'm gonna start here so I can get a little pull medially and towards that heel, around that Achilles, and wrap it up over top, okay? And the same thing do, I would put my anchors, probably do my stirrups, then I'd do my Sub-Talar sling, and then make sure I get another anchor on the bottom here. Make sense?
Would you ever do both inversion and eversion ones?
No. Because more likely you're trying to prevent one direction over the other. Okay. Last one, Achilles. Trying to think if I can leave you. I'm gonna just leave you sit on here like this. Okay, Achilles tape. Pre-wrapping, same thing, kind of preference of the athlete, preference of you. You at least need an anchor around the metatarsal. You need your 2 anchor strips at the top here, okay? 2 positions you can have your athlete sit, so they can either be on the edge of the table like this, so this one you're gonna have them relax. Or I'm gonna have you up on your knees facing that way. So with your knees here, and foot hanging off the table. So that we can get them into a relaxed state. Whatever your preference is and however you want to apply it, okay? I'm gonna have you flip over because that's just how I'm used to it. Achilles tape, typically use our elasticon. I prefer using the 3-inch tape versus the 2. You guys will probably just practice with 2 because I only have so many rolls of 3-inch that were going up here, okay? So you're gonna measure them. So you're gonna have them make sure they're relaxed. I'm gonna measure from my anchor to my anchor. Maybe a little stretch, but not a lot. And I'm gonna cut it. And then just like with our dog bone, I'm only gonna cut one side, okay? My uncut side is gonna go at my metatarsal anchor. I'm gonna hold that here with my hand. My opposite, I'm gonna give a nice little pull. So wherever I feel like they need to, if I need extra pull, because we're protecting this Achilles in the back here. Or if that's too much restriction, I'll let up a little bit, come up, flip my tails, and wrap it around. And I'll typically do 2 of them per foot. And then I just finish that off with my anchor at the metatarsals. And probably 2 anchors at the top here. Then preference for the athlete, if you want to take your power flex, your shear light, and wrap it around it, just to cover everything up. Cool? All right, it's a lot today. So use your time wisely. Try and mix it up. I guess this is probably going to take some outside, lots of outside practice.